Yeah, you can move it. All right, let me put the markers back before you move it. All right, so this is the Afterburn, and I don't have my phone to Dollar Rabbi, but he's here from Needham.
All right, actually, so let me just start off by saying something. First of all, excellent job by Elder here. Fantastic.
Thank you.
Right. Fantastic job. Okay, so I want to just package something, because I know some of you, your heads are going ready to explode, right? And I think so. First of all, I came in because I wanted to, where'd the cookies go? I heard you guys are giving away cookies. I didn't know what was going on. I turned on the live stream, and I'm kidding. All right. Do you ever look at vitamins or other things, and it lists all these different vitamins and minerals, and it says, recommended daily allowance? Okay? Do you see, it's funny, because you look at that and you go, oh, I need this much. You need this much? Do you understand that that's for a healthy 20-year-old male? So unless you're a very healthy, active 20-year-old male, you do not need that amount. You probably need a whole lot more and different things. Now take that into this marriage thing. Before you ladies, or you men, start going, oh, well, she needs to or he needs to. Oh, boy, wait till you guys get the load of what I have for you next week. Okay? Be first looking in the mirror. Because when you start thinking you need and you deserve and you want to look at your husband or your wife, there's a presumption, there's an assumption there. Just like the assumption that you're a healthy 20-year-old male. The assumption is, before ladies, you start thinking you want to demand this, that, and that. Well, the assumption is that you're a lady that deserves all that. And man, before you expect your wife to be this, that, and the other thing, are you doing your side of it? Because you guys are only listening to the part you want to listen to. I'm just being blunt because I counsel. I know what you guys do. Okay? And so when you're struggling in your marriage, I want you to really understand something very clearly. You have what you have. You don't have to keep it. It can maybe get fixed, maybe change, maybe grow, maybe whatever. But you have what you have. Let's start off with that, okay? We live in reality. Because I know he gave you a lot of really good things, but I want to make sure you're looking at it from the right perspective. In reality, if you're married, I'm saying, all right? Well, let's take the single people first. Single people, you need to be listening to what he said. Ladies, you need to not be giving stuff away. Guys, you need to be somebody that's going somewhere. Okay? Well, you're already going somewhere, but it needs to be somebody who plays better. Because wherever you are, you're on your way somewhere. But you know what? None of you are paying attention, and you're going to crash into a wall because you have no idea that's where you're headed. And so some of you guys are thinking, oh, man, where are the single ladies? And I'm like, are you ready to be married? So you got to think about what kind of a match or catch you are. Ladies, same thing. It's not just about, packaging up and hiding your cookies, okay? It's about, are you ready to be the woman's side of this thing? Mm-hmm. Okay, now, but if you're already married, guess what? You're already married. And if your marriage is having its issues, is because either one or both of you has a problem with understanding your expectations and roles. All right? And they're not complicated. Problem is, it's not really taught, especially not before you already make the decision to get married. Okay? So in the reality, I don't want you listening to anything he said or what I said last time or the one I'm going to be saying next and next through the ears of the other person. I want you to be listening about you. If you're the man, listen to the man's side. If you're the woman, listen to the woman's side. Don't you walk home and weaponize this at the other person. Now, you may be perfectly okay in your role. You may have made a bad choice. And the other person isn't very good at their role, but you chose for bad reasons. Wrong, not bad meaning like without knowledge and understanding and wisdom. You made a choice. Because I can tell you right now, most of the people I know, married people they thought were cute or attractive and reasonably fun to be with most of the time. Okay? That is the main criteria, let's not lie. Oh, I married my best friend. Maybe, okay? That's not as common as the thing that I mentioned. It's the physical attraction. Yahweh made us to be attracted to each other. We desire each other. So a young lady walks by, or a young man walks by, and the other ones on the other side of that equation go, ooh, maybe, right? It starts with the looks. But of course, if you end up in whatever weird condition he described, in a box with nothing functioning anymore on the street, okay. Now, I think that's an extreme thing. Not everybody can handle that kind of level of adversity. But I'm just saying is, you're got to be walking together. Two can't walk together unless they're in agreement. Problem is, you can't even do that as dysfunctional as you are. Dysfunctional means what? Not functioning as designed. And that's what I think he was trying to get you guys to start to see is the design. But let's be careful that, none of you are walking home with sore ribs because the person next to you is doing one of these. Huh? Did you hear that? Huh? And then, of course, the next line is about the other side, and then, boom, the ribs come the other way. But I want us to understand, you can't just be looking at, well, my wife doesn't or my husband doesn't. Okay, but what about you? What's your side of it? Make sure your side is clean first before you worry about judging the other side. You got that plank in your own eye to deal with. Because when I listen to these kind of things, when I'm delivering them myself, I keep thinking they're not listening, they're only hearing what they want to hear, they're going to weaponize it against their spouse because they're not paying attention. They're not getting this, all right? Marriage is one of the greatest and worst ideas ever. Look, do you know why 50% of marriages fail? I mean, isn't that like an interesting number? It's 50%. And it's been that way like forever. I remember as a kid it was 50%. It's still 50%. It never changes. You know why? Because it's basically like the chance of actually guessing randomly a yes or no, true or false question. It's a 50-50 shot. Because you're not going into it as an educated guess. If you make an educated guess, maybe it's 75%, maybe it's 80%, depending on how educated your guess is. But we use terrible criteria, or zero, and next thing you know, we're married. And so no wonder it's a 50-50. And by the way, you can't even vet all of this out in advance because marriage is so different than whatever dating was. You really can't know until you're already married. You can only know so much. Now, part of the problem I'm hoping to fix when I encourage you to be the real you all the time. That way the person at least knows what they're getting. Which is hard to do because you don't do it on purpose. You don't wear that mask on purpose. Some of you remember Billy Joel, The Stranger. Do you let people see the stranger in yourself? What mask are you wearing, right? So you might be doing it just because you want to be your best possible you and you want to impress the other person. Just be you. As a matter of fact, be the ugliest version of you, the normal version of you, so that they like that. Because if they like that, then when you're on your good side, they'll even like it even more. Okay? Matter of fact, really go out of your way not to hold back. Because if that works for them, man, when you're on your good day, they're really going to love you. But no, we don't do that. We go the other side of it. We put on the best show, the best nonsense, and it's not real. Well, it is. It's real, but not real most of the time.
Yeah.
Okay? It's real. I'm not saying you're just being a phony, manipulating the other person. I'm saying, but you're putting on what you cannot do all the time in those moments as if that's the way you always are. So it's not the truth. It's not honest. Okay? All right? And so let's just understand that. Now, that being said, you guys can come up and start asking questions. I'll be here sort of to, make sure you guys don't take this in a sideways rail the wrong way you should go. But this is the most important teaching series that we're doing because this is where everybody ends up in trouble. Okay? When it comes to relationships. They just don't get it. And I want you to really pay attention to the words you wrote on the board. Respect. Okay? If you can understand what that's all about, is what men need. That is their default love language under all the other things. See, the 5 love languages is how we communicate the things that the other person needs. A woman needs attention, and she needs affection. And that comes in different forms, one of maybe those 5 forms. Men need respect. It could come in any of those 5 forms. But what we need is different. A man can go to work all day, get very little attention from you, but if it's respectful attention, giving him the kind of endorsement that you're proud of him and that you appreciate him and all that, then he's ready to run off with his tail wagging to go do it again. Okay? You ladies are the ones sitting home going, where's my attention? Well, you wanted to go out there and produce. Everything's a trade-off. I said this today in the zone meeting. Everything's a trade-off. You can't have everything. Whatever you have means you gave up something else. Opportunity cost, we call that. So ladies, you want your husband to produce, then he can't be sitting at home with you all day. All right? You just have to understand how that works. And so if you're that needy, you've got the problem. And we have some very needy women out there. You're going to have to figure out a way to grow that out. Because some of you, your need is to get your man out of the house. That's a different type of need. But you shouldn't have to need to push him out. He should be out there hunting down like he was talking about and going out there to go and seek and take care of business and come back with the prize, ready to feed everybody and all that kind of good stuff. He should be out there aggressively wanting to make it happen. On the one hand, I know my wife sometimes gets disappointed that maybe she wants to spend a Sunday and go out and do something. On the other hand, she should be excited that I want to go to work. I want to do what I need to do. It's a trade-off. I have to find a right balance. So does everybody, right? On both sides of the equation, you have to find a balance. Okay, but just remember, I don't want you taking this now, going home and glaring at your spouse. Look only in the mirror at your side of it. Okay? All right, so Brianna wants to start us off. Our most newly married person. Mm-hmm. Who actually did marry her best friend, so I think that's pretty cool.
She did?
Okay, so this is not a marriage question, it's more of a comment. When you said, if you can destroy the man, you can destroy generations, it made me think of how the word man has such a negative connotation in today's society. And it has come to the point where I've seen people talking on podcasts and other things about how they're about to have boys, or, they're pregnant and they have a boy. And it makes them sad to think that their child will be frowned upon in this society for just simply being who they are as a man. And I think it's just so sad that it's not as accepted in today's society to show strong men characteristics. And so I don't know if you have anything to add to that idea.
Yes. That is the end of, I got the notes. What was it, 4? It's in my Hosea 4, 6. So the last part that I didn't read, 4, 6. My people perish for lack of knowledge because you have rejected knowledge. I reject you from being priests from me. Since you have forgotten the Torah of your Elohim, I also forget your children. So when you say that, that makes that says to me that everything that you've learned or that you don't pass on to your children, that you don't teach them, they suffer because of it. You don't teach your kids how to deal with money, they're going to wind up being adults who suffer with money. You don't teach your kids how to deal with relationship and deal with rejection and deal with hurt and deal with being a man and dealing with being a strong man and accepting it no matter what society says. They're going to wind up, they're going to be weak. So if you reject Abba's word, you reject what he's telling you to do in your life, raising your family and being the man, the kind of man and woman that he wants you to be with forever, and don't pass that on to your kids, you're doing them a disservice because they will never grow up and be strong. If Rabbi is a strong man and he doesn't impart that into his sons and to his daughters, they're not going to grow up and be strong women and men. I see it happen a lot in people that we counsel. It happens a lot in the world where we are growing, and Rabbi says it all the time, we're growing generations of weak people because we're not imparting the life-giving things that they need to be successful in their life. We're successful, and we thought because we're successful, it's good enough. No, we need to be imparting that to our children so our children can be successful, so our grandchildren can be successful, so our generations that are coming from us will be successful. And we're not doing that.
All right. Really well said. Let me kind of just add something or repackage that a little bit. I want to explain what impart means, okay? You can't make them do anything. You have to live it so they see it. Now, the part that you get to do is don't coddle and enable the weakness. You can't make them do the strength, but you cannot be supporting the weakness. You cannot be enabling and supporting the weakness. You want to go be weak? Go be weak in a world which will force you to be strong.
Right.
See, we do, okay, here's the thing, and this is the part that Brianna asked that you didn't address, which is the idea of toxic masculinity, or men being a terrible, like it's a negative thing in society. That's really what you're asking about, okay? And so that being said, it's because the world in its weakness is scared to death of men being men. Because it's a threat to their baby stuff. It's a threat to the weakness. It's a threat to their emotional trauma, drama, whatever. Because a real man is an adult who makes hard decisions, is uncompromising, and gets it done. Okay, now, you can clap for that, but realize the world wants us all to be children. Nobody to grow up so that they are dependent and having to sit there suckling at the breast of the government or something, okay? And so they're just not gonna, they have to get off, okay, the breast and get out there and learn how to feed themselves.
Amen.
But I watch parent after parent not making their children. You know why? Because you are afraid. You know what real men are? They're not afraid. And so you're afraid because you don't have a real man to help you not be afraid. Ladies, it's okay for you to be afraid, but you need a man to help you not be afraid.
Amen.
Because that's kind of the way the roles work. Problem is, it's really hard to be a man in this world, because in this world there's so few, it makes the man look like he's the problem because it's so rare, uncommon, and it stands out as different. Which is why so many women think I hate women. The opposite is completely the case. There's no truth to that, but they don't know what to do with a man who will tell you to your face the truth, not coddle you, smack you when you need a smack verbally, and have the strength that you need to say, but don't be afraid, you're going to be okay, I'm not going to let you drown, all those kind of things. But you guys want to keep parenting your children into their 40s and 50s. That is insane. You are causing the problem. Oh no, they couldn't handle being out there. Well, because you won't let them go out there and handle it. Are you kidding? Look, I don't know, for any of you that are younger than 50, let's say, or even younger than 40, but you get to be older than 50 or 60, we were expected to do everything at a very young age. Nobody gave us anything. Okay? Nobody gave us anything. You know what my parents said to me? They said, I know you don't really want to go to college, so if you want to go, pay for it yourself. They paid for my brothers because they really wanted to go and get their degree and everything else. They knew I didn't really care. They said, I'm not going to pay for you to go and not do the work. I said, fair enough. And so I paid the money to sit around and play and hang out with my friends, okay, instead of going to class. But that was my money, not theirs. They didn't coddle that. But at the same time, I went out and started businesses and made my own money and bought my own car and did all these things. Some of you have teenagers that are 18, 19, 20, still don't know how to drive. That's insane. How are they supposed to be able to go out there in the world by themselves if you haven't taught them some of the basic things? They don't know how to make a budget. They don't know how to handle money. They don't know how to open a bank account. They don't know how to... What are you teaching them? Where is the life skills coming from? Oh, I don't know. I go to work all day. I come home and I'm tired. Okay, so what? I'm tired. Really? That's your excuse? So you have to understand the difference generationally because of the weakness, going down generationally. My parents are tired too. You know what that meant? My generation, I figured it out. The generation now will sit there on their butt with their thumb up there, you know what, doing nothing. Okay? I'm sorry, they need their thumbs to play their video games. But that's the only reason they'll take it out, to play a video game, all right? Or to suck on it. I'm a little baby. Our generation, if our parents didn't do it for us, we went and did it ourselves. That's not because we were so much better. We had not learned to be that weak yet. I'm not saying we were better. We just were not as weak as this generational nonsense is. But you're all afraid. Because I talk to people all the time. Oh, my children, how old are your children? 23 and 25. Where are they? They live at home. Why? Well, because they couldn't live outside. They don't know what to do, and they don't have jobs, and they don't. Because you let them have all that. Kick them out. Kick them out. Well, should I give them a deadline? Yes, 30 days. 30 days? What are you going to give them, 3 more years? You waiting for them to be ready? They can't get ready. They're in your house. I told both my children, a little easier with my daughter because right away, by the time she turned 18, she got married. But I told both my children, you cannot grow beyond a certain point in my house. You have to be planning to leave. Okay, my son's leaving here in a little bit before he turns 20. I said, I'll help you as long as you are moving in that direction. You got a job, you're making money so that you can be ready to move out, okay? And 20 was a good point to say, okay, that gives you 2 years after high school to try and figure out what you're doing. But I told them, there's no growth. You hit a plateau in the house. My daughter's already nodding her head because now that she's married and outside the house, she's grown a tremendous amount. She's only been married a month, but she's now been outside the house. You can't grow beyond a certain point. Okay, think about when you put the plant in the little pot. It can't get any bigger than a certain size because it can't fit anymore in that little pot. You have to take it out, put it in something bigger. Go plant it out in the wild in the garden or something, right? Then it really grows. You're creating this problem. So when he talks about the generational thing, and we have to impart, we impart through our example and not allowing the weakness. Because I can promise you right now, this weak generation isn't listening. So fine, don't listen out there instead of not listening to me. Because out there will kick you enough in the teeth, you'll figure it out. Then you'll come running back to me going, can I have some help? I don't know what I'm doing. And you know what you better not do? Don't let them back in the house. Anybody ever try that with you?
Yep.
And did you let them back in the house?
Nope.
There you go. Because they'll do that. And some of you, I counsel with you, online maybe not so much here. Oh, yeah, they lived on their own for a little while, but they failed, so now they're back in the house. Why'd you do that? Why do you think that's helping anything? Take an example from like the animal kingdom. The birds kick the other birds out of the nest and they're either going to fly or die. And some of them don't make it. We have found a few dead birds in our backyard because we've got our deck under the deck that they like to put their nests. Every now and then, one doesn't make it. Oh, well, I'm so sad and I feel bad for them. Don't you understand you're only making it worse? You say you feel bad for them, but you're making it worse. Okay, did I answer your question mostly?
Yeah, I was going to say one thing that I was thinking of is when you mentioned me specifically. I was going to say that when you start in school and then you go into adulthood and you stay in your house, there's no accountability for yourself. So you don't learn any of that because in school it's like you have either you're homeschooled or you have your parents, they give you that accountability, do this, do that, or if you're in public school, you have teachers, you need to get this done or else, you're going to fail school. But when you move out, you learn that you have to have complete ownership of your life, as you say, and that's why you're setting them up for failure because they won't ever learn that and it stunts your growth.
Like, so for example, like having to go shopping and buy your own food, or like cooking your own food, or even the difference between cleaning your room and cleaning your house or your apartment. Because now it's yours in a different way. Your room was still your room, but now this is your apartment. Okay, so, these things all change responsibility-wise. The dynamic, but it's so hard out there and they don't make enough money. Well, why would you train your children to aim at fast food? They shouldn't even be eating it, let alone aiming at it. Why do you think why would you have your child excited about $15 an hour? Unless that's a job that leads to $30 and $40 an hour. That's where you're not imparting correctly. Because you get all excited. I got excited too that my son got his first job and he was making very little at a fast food place. And I told him that's a great place to start learning how to work. You learn how to show up on time and do those things. And once that's worked out, a few months later I said, now what are you going to do next? And he thought, well, maybe I'll try to get into being a manager. I said, fine. And then he ended up hating the job, which is fine, but at least he aimed higher to see if he would even like it. Then he said, now I need to go look for a job. And he looked for a whole different, the level he was looking at changed. He was looking at higher level things. And he also started thinking about, I want to move out. What's it going to cost me to move out? You know, when he figured that out at 17, he thought he could never afford it because he was thinking like a 17-year-old. He did the math, and it didn't work. I said, that's right, because you're thinking about minimum wage. You're not thinking higher than that. No, minimum wage is tough to go and move out. All right, so how about aiming higher than that? So then now in a skilled job, he's doing heating and air. That's a skilled job. Okay, gets paid a whole lot more money than working in fast food. And he's on a career path that's going to pay him a whole lot more than that. That was his choice, because I taught him to look for things that can take you further. Take you where you want to go. I imparted that. He still had to do the rest. And you know what? It wasn't until he actually started going out there and starting to spend his own money and he realized it disappeared too fast because there wasn't enough coming in, that he realized, I might need to go work. It's something that pays better. I mean, that's a big difference. Okay? Brianna?
All right, one more thing. So you kept bringing up how like people felt like they were tired of trying and trying and trying. So I was thinking about the idea of some very popular saying of marriage is 50-50. But I think that mindset is limiting and will ultimately negatively affect your relationship, because I heard this video of a marriage counselor, and she brought up the idea of you're not always going to be able to give that full 50%. Sometimes you won't even be able to give more than 10%. But I believe you should be able to give more than even 50, 100 even more, because you're not always going to be up there. Sometimes you're going to be all the way in the ground, and you need to be able to lift each other up no matter how bad your day was or how much negative trials are affecting you, because that's what it's about.
Oh, man.
All right, so that person, basically what they were saying was, I saw the same video. So basically, you know, if you came home from work and you're like, sweetheart, I'm at like 20 right now. And then your spouse can say, hey, that's okay, I've got you. I got the other 80 today. Maybe it works the other way around. You walk in and look, I've only got like 30, 20, 10, whatever it is. The other one says, that's okay, I'll cover you today, right? So you work together. But I think it's not a 50-50. I think it's 100-100.
Yeah.
You have to bring, but it's two different hundreds.
Right. Right.
See, 50-50 makes it sound like you're equal in everything and your roles are the same and interchangeable and all of that stuff. Okay? You're equal in value, but your roles are not interchangeable. So if you're the wife, you get to be the 100% of that. And if you're the husband, you get to be 100% of that. Problem is, the wife wants to be the husband or the husband wants to be the wife, and then we have a complete disaster. All right? It's not 50-50. By the way, it's not a democracy. There's no voting, but it's about two walking together in agreement.
Amen.
Okay, the problem is you never thought to come into agreement before you got married, so now you struggle with a whole bunch of stuff because you didn't agree about it. Okay? And so I've got a few marriages right now that are pretty much on the done, finished, because they realize there's too much they don't agree on.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not for divorce, don't get me wrong. But sometimes if you cannot walk together, then what's the point? Everybody's miserable and nothing's getting done. But sometimes people fight over stupid things, and then they can realize, that's how a marriage can fix. They can realize, wait a minute, we really do walk together mostly. We're just overreacting emotionally to these few irritating things that we can fix. That's different than the fact that you really just don't agree. All right, you just don't see life the same in too many areas that are important, okay? So we're not talking about like arguing over like leaving the paste cap on the, whatever, or not putting the seat down. We're talking about important things you walk together in terms of finances, in terms of socially, in terms of spiritually, in terms of all these relationships, understanding your roles. You have to agree. We mostly fight over dumb things in marriages that are fixable.
Right.
In marriages that aren't fixable, we fight over the dumb things to cover up the fact that there are actually real things underneath that are really the problem. And then you got to realize either those things can be adjusted or they just can't. And I'm not trying to be fatalistic, but you know what? I'm 60 years old. I hope to be 120 years old. And so when you think about where you are, if you're married 5 years, 10 years, 30 years, it doesn't matter. Do you want to keep doing whatever you're doing for another however many years? I don't care how old you are. Most people living into their 80s and 90s now. So unless you're already 80 or 90, you've got some years left in your marriage.
Right.
And do you want to keep doing that? And if you don't, then what are you going to do to fix it? Okay? Is it even fixable? That's up to you.
Just want to add a piece. He talked about the marriage side on that. I like the 100-100. I was going to say the same thing. I agree with that. Well, what happens, what we see a lot is singles getting together and they're not 100%. The single person needs to be 100% before they can hook up with somebody else. You guys are getting hooked up with each other and you only got 40% or you only got 60. You need to be whole before you decide to get married. You're getting married and you're not whole. You can't bring 100%. Some of you getting married, you only bring in 10%, 5%, 3%. You're not even getting to 50%. And then you wonder why you get together is not making a whole person, because you're bringing part. You need to be whole. You need to be made whole. You need to understand who you are and have your 100% together so you can come with your own 100%, like he said, to meet your wife or your husband's whole 100%. Y'all come in half-cocked, and you wonder why it don't get past the first 3-6 months. So come whole if you're going to come at all.
All right, listen. What he said is so important. Some of you don't understand this. I'm going to try and put another way of saying the same thing, because sometimes you need to hear it different ways, okay? Some of you don't understand that you're not thinking for yourself, and probably have never thought for yourself. It's your mother thinking for you, or your father thinking for you, or your sister thinking for you, or your pastor thinking for you, or your best friend thinking for you. And that's what he's talking about. You're not 100% you coming in. Then when you get in the marriage and you realize, oh, I'm stuck with this person that my friend pushed me to marry, or this one or that one or whatever. And so you are not strong enough individually to make those decisions. Because I have to tell you the question. He said that he did it from the finances, like, well, what's your number? What do you know your budget? And most people have no answer. I tell you the question I always ask. He can tell you what the question is. What do
you want?
Okay. All right, he knows the question. I ask people this all the time. They can't answer it because the key word in there is you. I go, what do you want? Oh, they know what they think I want, or what they think Yahweh wants, or what they think their mother wants, or their brother, their sister, their cousin, whatever. See, I resisted doing it. It was close. Inside joke. So the thing is, it's you. What do you want? But I don't know what I want. That's the answer I get all the time. Well, I don't know what I want. Well, why are you even making decisions if you don't even know what you want? Mm-hmm. I got people in marriages that are in all kinds of problems. I say, well, what do you want? I don't know. Do you want to be married? I think so. I don't know. You want to get a divorce? I don't know. Nobody knows what they want. And I think because they haven't given themselves the freedom to actually want or not want something. Because they feel trapped by what other people are going to think about it.
Amen.
Okay?
Amen.
And so they're not thinking for themselves. Every marriage that comes to me, I ask the same question. Do you want this marriage? What do you want? Do you want to get out? You want to stay in? You want to fix it? You want to get out? What do you want? And they look at me like, I can't believe you're asking that question. Normal. People get mad at me because I don't force them to fix anything. Because that's what your pastor would have done. I'm not your pastor, if you hadn't figured that out. Okay? I'm not going to force you to do anything. I had one lady actually in here furious with us because she was going to actually file and get a divorce. She was furious with us because her husband didn't want to take her back at that point because we didn't make her not divorce him. I said, really? You're going to be mad at me. I asked you what you wanted. Of course, you were drunk at the time. And I asked you what you wanted. You didn't say, I want to fix this, can you help me? You said, I'm done. I said, you sure? Oh, absolutely, I'm done. Good, then go get a divorce. So then all of a sudden, that decision was not owned. It was our fault. Don't be blaming us. Your choices are your choices. I am not here to make them for you. I'm not here to force you in a direction. I will help you answer the question, though, by pushing you to answer it. What do you want? And that starts with this question. See, he didn't really cover this. I'll probably cover it a lot more maybe next week. You know, you get married. Let me ask you a question. Most people get married because they want the idea of what they think marriage is. I want to get married, or I want to, if it's a woman, I want a husband, he's going to take care of me. A man, he wants a wife who's going to be there supportive, and he'll have physical access to her and the stuff. But nobody is thinking about, I want to be a wife. I want to be a husband. And the reason you're not is you have no idea what that is anyway. You don't. You have no idea what that is. Well, you've got the ideas your parents told you, or you saw other people, and you say, oh, well, I saw husbands, I saw wives, I think I know what it is. No, you don't, because it was done so badly by everybody you ever saw. But the thing is, you're married now, if you're married now. Do you want to be that? Because I've actually talked to some wives who did not realize, they said, you know what, I don't think I want to be a wife. I got some husbands that don't want to be a husband. So, but they're husbands who want a wife, and they're wives who want a husband, but they don't want to be the other side of that. Well, it's not going to work. So maybe you like the idea of being married, but did you want to be your side of that equation? And some of you don't want to be that. You know what? Be honest. You want to really fix your marriage? Just start off with being honest. Okay? Because not being honest is only making you and the other person miserable. Mm-hmm. I'm serious. But I don't know what I would do if I got a divorce. Well, you already know what you do if you don't. I mean, you know. So if you're already miserable, unless you have any hope for it to stop being miserable, okay? Now I'm going to talk to the ladies for a second. Ladies. Younger ladies. We'll start with them first. See, I didn't get to talk today, so. Younger ladies. And by the way, for them, any of you think that I was disrespectfully coming up here, he asked me to come up and be able to share because he thought this topic may be like this, okay? Younger ladies, you should absolutely make sure that you're able to take care of yourself in case, A, you ever get divorced, and B, maybe just something happens to your husband, adverse, he has a disease, he gets killed in an accident or something, okay? Because I got a bunch of ladies out there that absolutely are miserable, but they won't get a divorce because they have no idea how to take care of themselves. By the way, ladies, I feel bad for you. I feel worse for your husbands because you're in a marriage lying to them like you want to be there because you're too afraid to try to take care of yourself. I know your husband may be a piece of whatever. That's fine, but you're not being fair to him. You're using him because you're afraid to try to take care of yourself. But I don't know what I do. You're the one who put yourself in this position. You chose that person and married them. Don't stay in just to stay in. You're miserable. Fix it or get out. Because otherwise you're not really being fair to the other one. Because the other one thinks you want to be there. No, you know what? I would hate to be married to someone who was doing that to me. And if I ever found that out, it would get ugly. Okay? I don't want to be lied to. No, sir. Okay, you guys are not being honest. And so I want to make sure that this gets out there. Ladies, I spoke to the younger ladies first. Older ladies, you better figure out how to take care of yourself too, because if you're older, your husband, something may happen. And I got to promise you, he could tell you from all the financial classes he does, none of you are ready for retirement. None of you are ready for your spouses to be not there, and almost none of you have insurance to cover it anyway. All right? So if your husband disappeared tomorrow, you're up a creek. Almost every one of you, and you're going to call me because you're in trouble. Well, I don't know what to do. I don't have any money, and I don't have any skills, and I haven't worked in 30 years. Are you planning? Life is going to happen, but you're not planning for it. And then you all act surprised when the stuff you should have known was going to happen happened eventually. All of a sudden, you're 65 years old, you don't have any money, and Social Security is going to give you $700 a month, and you think that's going to work for you. You've been told this your whole life that was coming. Absolutely 100%. I know you've heard this. As a matter of fact, you've probably heard, and it's never happened, but you keep saying, oh, well, Social Security might not even be there by the time I get to 65. So I know you've heard all that. They've been saying it every election for the last 40 years. But yet you sit back and just casually float through life, and then all of a sudden you end up in a disastrous place where you're miserable and broke. All of that's preventable. Takes effort, though. And then you'd have to confront your lazy side. A lot of you have a lazy side, like most of you. Okay? I have a lazy side. I fight it and overcome it daily. Okay? So don't want you to think that there are those of us without the lazy side. No, there are those of us who've learned how to shut it up. Because trust me, I could just sit and do nothing. Not really. I'd do something active, but I wouldn't be productive. Okay? I can find ways to be busy not being productive. That's a lazy side. But you have to overcome that. You know how you overcome that? By having a purpose, something you're aiming at, having a target. Take my class. That's what you really should do. Because it's going to deal with all this stuff. All right? Becky. No? I'm sorry, Rabbi Tom.
I got it on. Thank you, Rabbi, and thank you, Elder Billy. Great message. As you began speaking, you mentioned something about strong men. Then you kind of hinted that at my house it might be something a little bit more than a penknife that could be construed as a weapon. I think I do have one or two items. But that got me to thinking, probably 25 or 30 years ago, I was working for a newspaper in another state. And I met a man called Aaron Zellman. And Aaron was the founder of an organization called JPFO, Jews for the Preservation of Firearms Ownership. And he advocated that at least the man in the house should always have a weapon to defend the house because of his catchphrase he had. You cannot allow an evildoer to triumph. And I got to thinking, as you were speaking, if we're going to have a good, strong home where love prevails, we cannot allow evil of any kind to triumph. Not just, we don't have to worry about people, but it's any kind of evil. A rabbi gave a series of messages on what is evil. And of course, evil is anything that detracts from Torah. And so, in order to defeat evil from being in our house, I got to thinking, as you were speaking, that we need to develop the fruits of the Ruach, Galatians 5:22 and 23. And a real man, a strong man, is not afraid to love. He's not afraid to show loving kindness, mercy, gentleness, and all those things. A real man is not necessarily someone with big bulging muscles and an MMA fighter, but real men exhibit these characteristics as well.
Amen.
So I think you might agree with that.
Amen.
All right, you gave me a great analogy to make. I'm going to really make a lot of people mad. All you guys out there with your guns, your ability to protect your house, let me ask you something. And I'll ask you, you were a police officer. Most break-ins, are they robberies or murders? Most break-ins. Robberies, right? What do you have that anybody wants to steal? All you guys with your 5 and 6 and 8 guns. You don't have any money. There's nothing in it. Well, they can steal your TV because you have a big TV. You're broke, but you got a 70-inch TV. Okay? It's like I used to love this back when I was in the 70s, when I was growing up. The people who lived in the apartments near me that were broker than broke, they all drove big Cadillacs. But they were broke. But they had the car. So you guys out there, you want to protect your house? Make some money. Your house is not safe when you're broke. So I like that analogy, Rabbi Tom, because everybody's out there like, you have the gun to protect your house. Against what? Nobody's going to steal nothing from you. You have nothing. Most Americans can't put together $1,000 on a bet, okay? In an emergency, and what are they stealing from you? You know, your collection of some nonsense that you like, or your TV. I mean, all you got is a TV of any value. But yet you've got 3 or 4 guns to make sure nobody's going to steal that TV. Meanwhile, you're broke. And your house is getting destroyed and eaten away by all of them. You know, it says eaten away by moths and things. Like, don't make your treasures down here on earth, but your treasures where moths can eat it and everything else. Well, you know what? What are they going to steal? The dust? What do you have? A 6-pack in the fridge? I'm serious. I told you guys you can get mad at me. Because I'm in the South. If a person has 1 gun, they got 10. Let that be a warning to all you blue states. Okay? All right? I'm serious. Everybody I know, if they've got 1, they've got 10. All right. But to protect what? Well, what if the whatever comes and tries to... Listen, you will run out of bullets before... If a real army or whatever came after you, you will run out of bullets before you can do anything, and they will kill you. That's not the point. Okay? But I get that you want self-defense. You want home defense. I'm okay with that. I agree with that. But I want you to defend your home against all enemies, foreign and domestic. And one of the biggest enemies domestically is poverty. Debt. Okay? So why don't you take your credit cards outside and shoot them? Maybe that's how you could have a safe and protected home and be a strong man. All right? Okay, Becky.
Wow. So for me, respect is it's been a really hard thing that I've always struggled with. I have never had respect for men. I've done a man's job. And, you know, when Chris and we got together, we were partiers. You know, we were just going along. And when I had a man go through recovery with me, and our eyes were getting open, and we found a rabbi like 6 months after starting recovery, I really started to learn what respect looked like.
Amen.
And I still catch myself, and I'll tell you, ladies, there's nothing more that just kills me when I see the look on my husband's face when I've been just that little disrespectful to him, and because he doesn't show much, but I'll know I've crossed that line. And one of our biggest problem is with us also going through recovery, we never really learned how to have fun with each other as a sober couple. We're not quite sure, how that should look like. And with my respect for Rabbi and for you, Elder Billy and Rabbi Tom, I still kind of struggle sometimes, but at least I'm aware and I'm getting there. So just something for you ladies.
Amen. Amen.
Can I deal with the respect issue just for a second? All right, 2 things. One is, if you're not married yet, ladies, this is for the ladies first, and then we'll talk to the men. Ladies, don't you pick somebody that you don't already respect. Because developing respect for someone you don't have respect for who is not earning respect is a very brutally hard thing to do. Mm-hmm. Okay? It's easy to apologize for being disrespectful to someone that generally you respect, but you had a disrespectful moment. But if you really don't respect them, there's nothing there to work with. So ladies, you are supposed to pick a man you look up to, that you admire, that you respect. Guys, if you're not that kind of guy, why should you get a woman? Do you earn respect? Are you deserving of respect? Well, I am, I'm a man. But what are you doing that earns respect? Can you provide? Can you protect? Are you walking the walk? Are you serious about your covenant? What are you doing to demonstrate that you are worthy of that respect? Okay? And guys, for the lady side of it, pick a lady that you want to give the attention to, okay? Because they want attention and they want affection. And affection to them doesn't mean sex necessarily. It's part of it, but that's not just what they're looking for. Remember the love languages. Affection for them may be taking out the garbage, all right? That's acts of service love language, but they want that love language spoken. So you should be looking for someone that you're willing to speak their language because you want to give them attention, the attention that they want, and you want to give them the affection that they want. But let's not miss our side of that. Ladies, you deserve all of that, but are you willing to give the respect that you need to? Are you willing to give those things that the guy needs? Did you protect yourself from giving you to everybody on the planet before you found your husband? Okay? And by the way, men, same thing. Why should she want to save herself for you if you're not saving yourself for her?
Amen.
All right? And so that's just, you know, this is the point that's out there. But just understand when it comes to respect, if you're not married yet, find somebody that you respect. Not just because he makes a good living and he's cute. Learn enough about, remember, knowledge, understanding, wisdom. I watched him write on the board. Okay? Get the information you need so that you understand what you're getting so you can use wisdom to decide if that's what you want. How's that for wording? Okay?
Amen.
Okay? Get the knowledge and information you need. Men about the woman, woman about the man. Now, if you're already married, do the same thing and figure out if it's fixable. So guys, maybe you're not there yet, but you have to now sell your wife that you can get there. And ask her to show some respect to you while you're trying to get there, but then you have to make the effort and show you're trying to get there. Mm-hmm. Okay? Because I know that that's where things can get really difficult. Like Becky was saying, she spent her whole life dealing with men that she couldn't respect, and she never learned how to respect a man. So it could be very tough. Okay, but just remember, keep pointing back to own your side of the equation. All right, Silas?
Well, first off, my question will be to Billy. For the simple, Elder Billy, for the simple fact, he said his wife was his best friend. Me and Barbara have been together for well, I've been knowing Barbara for 23 years. We've been married 8 years. And as Rabbi Steve, you stated, I didn't know my wife. We both tweaked the things that we talked about for the 23 years. And, but as I've always told her, even if we got a divorce, she'd be my best friend. Always.
Appreciate
but
that.
She came up the same way I did. As you stated, excuse me, I worked ever since I was 9 years old. Nobody gave me anything. From 17, I walked out the door and never came back. I have, as the leadership states, my wife, if I died right now, she's taken care of. I know what you all are saying. My question, how do you deal with a woman who's always been the man? The only man in her house, the only one she ever speaks about is her father. My mother brought me up. I had a hard father. It wasn't bad. He was just hard. So, our biggest fight is about, she wants to be the man in the house. Can't be two men in the house. She helps me when she feels like it. In the love languages I show love, I wash clothes, wash dishes, cook, mop floors, clean up, because that's all she's had to do for them all her life. She never got that respect that she was looking for. So now when I say things or do things, because I know where I want to go, I know where I'm going to wind up. If she's not with me, fine and dandy. That don't mean I don't love her. That don't mean I'm not going to be her friend. But I'm going to get where I'm going if the Heavenly Father makes it that way. So I guess I'm going around about to ask that same question. How do I fix that?
All right, you can't fix it. She can maybe fix it. You can't fix it. This is for all of you. You cannot fix your spouse. You can't fix your children. You can't fix anybody except yourself. Okay, so let this be a very important point to all of you. Get therapy. That's not a joke. Get help. If you recognize that you have a problem in the proper mind to be a healthy person, the proper role to be a healthy spouse, whatever it is that you're challenged with, get help. You don't know how to deal with money? Get help. You don't know how to deal with your marriage? Get help. You don't know how to be a healthy person with your emotions are actually stable? Get help. Okay, now that could be self-help, it could be professional help. I don't know what you need, but go get help. Stop being in denial. I've told some people, I'm glad I get to help you, I'm glad I get to try. You need to go see a professional. And you know what they do? Usually nothing. Because they won't accept the reality of their challenge. So if Barbara agrees with you and feels that this is one of her challenges, she should get help dealing with that. Maybe you then go also and get help on how you can help her in going through that, because she came from it naturally through what she experienced in her life. So nobody's blaming Barbara, nobody's blaming anybody. You're certainly not blaming her. But that's where we are when we meet people. We are meeting them in the middle of their response up to that point in their life to all of the dysfunctional things they experienced. And we're catching that train moving off the rails, okay? And then we're trying to sit there and catch it. I think we're going to redirect this thing that's been going for 30 or 50 years or more, going in a direction.
Well, we've come a long ways. The last counseling you gave us, the one incident with her son, that straightened out. It straightened itself out.
All right.
I'll
and again, because you came and got help, though, I gave guidance and you made decisions to go and do that.
And I left it alone.
That's right.
What'd you say?
I told you
I left
to.
it alone.
Yep.
We've come a long ways in 8 years. Like Elder Billy said, meltdown. My wife and me, because I ain't the easiest or sweetest thing to be around.
No, not all of us get to be like that. I get to be like that, but not most people. So.
But I mean, even the last counseling we had with you, Barbara and me, we've understood certain things, and rather than argue, I let it go. Not let it go, let it go.
Right, I understand.
I just let it calm down before I respond.
Well, you're learning. That's the whole thing. All right, you're learning. And look, and you came to counsel. I remember the counsel a little bit because I talked to a lot of people that week, but I do remember talking to you guys. And one of the things I do in all counseling is help you both make sure you're seeing things as they are. And you're accepting that without change, this is going to continue to be what it is. And then you can decide how you want to deal with it, all right? Look, I have a very simple thing, and I'm really excited over the years now that I've been using it, because I used to be kind of wondering, how do people like Tony Robbins and these other guys come up with these little catch simple phrases or catch little processes? And the one I've given you is you must learn, pay attention, observe, and then based on what you see, you learn from it and you adjust. It's like knowledge, understanding, wisdom. It's the same thing he was teaching. So I told Silas and Barbara, pay attention to each other. See what you see, learn from what you see, make the necessary adjustments. All right? You have to adjust to the other person. You also have to make adjustments in yourself, because you realize you're wrong in some things. Everybody's wrong in some things, and you got to work on those things. There's a reason that Yeshua talks about the plank in your eye. He didn't say, for the three of you that have a plank in your eye. Everybody. Okay? All right, Jennifer.
Hey, Elder and Rabbi. I enjoyed the teaching, and I'm really enjoying this discussion about women and men and relationships. I think it's super helpful, so I appreciate it. I have a couple questions. A couple of them kind of tie together, so I'm hoping I can get away with more than one. So I just want to make sure that I'm understanding a little bit of what you were talking about as far as so knowledge is part of the foundation of kind of the relationship. Is that what I'm understanding? Okay. So I think I'm trying to kind of wrap my mind around how, and Rabbi touched on this a little bit a minute ago, but the vetting process and how do you really know somebody? Because I feel like it's almost like a lifelong thing. You don't even really know yourself, So what does that look like as far as how do you have a foundation of knowledge of somebody? You can't know them in a couple months, even a couple of years, I feel like. So I don't know. I guess I'm just kind of want to understand that better. And is kind of the second part of that is it a continual process of knowing and understanding? Okay.
All right. I like the way he just looks over to me to let me say it. Look, this is why I said it's so important that you need to know yourself, all right? He said it too. You have to learn. Now, when you meet somebody, you're meeting them wherever they are on their journey, which also means that if you marry them 10 years later, they may not be exactly the same person you married. That may be good. That may not be good. And even if it's good in some objective way, and subjectively, you may not like it because it's not the way they were when you met them, even though objectively they're a better person in some ways, okay? And so the answer is you just have, I told you, it's a crapshoot. I hate to call it that. It really is. But you take the best shot you can, and you do the best you can in selecting the person you can. I give you tools to make it an increased chance of success, right? Because I'm giving you tools that should help you with the knowledge part and with getting to understand them part. Remember, we did the color code thing, the personality test thing, for the whole point, if you remember the original one, was learning, doing this thing so you can understand yourself better, so you can understand other people better. Because then you understand what drives them, right? So that means you have to spend time with people. This is why for all you teenagers, if all you do is make out all the time, you don't get to know them at all. Mm-hmm. And if all you do is go to movie theaters and other things where you're sitting there doing something but not talking, you don't ever get to really know each other very well. Now, it's good if you are dating and you do get to go do different things and see how a person is in different situations, all right? But ultimately, until you're sitting there with them all the time, in the same house, you wake up together, you go to bed, whatever, you don't really know them. And really, you don't even know how you're going to act in that situation either. I got some women and some men that got married who really did not understand what they were signing up for, okay? And not in a bad way. They just didn't know. Well, if I didn't know it was going to be like this. Well, there's some things you just can't know until you do it, all right? So I don't want you to be paralysis by analysis sort of situation. Well, how much do I need to know just to make sure I don't make a mistake? Stop being afraid to make a mistake. There's a chance that you'll pick somebody that's going to be really challenging. Okay? Because even the best marriages have always been, at some point, they've always had let me say it differently. All marriages have had points where they've almost gotten divorced. Okay? Things have sometimes to go to that edge for you to realize I need to fix some things.
Yeah.
And if your marriage hasn't had any challenges, then either you're not married or it's been way too soon. Okay? I'm just saying, every marriage, if it's a real marriage, the real stuff finally comes out and gets dealt with, and by the time it gets dealt with, you've avoided it for so long, it usually gets pretty ugly, which puts it on that edge, on that brink. So don't be afraid of that. You know what happens on the edge? The truth. The truth comes out on the edge. So you have to push sometimes to that cliff edge to find out the truth. The truth about how you really feel, the truth about how they really feel. It's sad. It's the reality of it, though, but it's sad, okay? It's unfortunate that's how the way it has to work sometimes. But in the meantime, your best shot is to make sure you know who you are. And look for somebody who knows who they are. And as he said, for the ladies especially, find out where they're going. And if they don't know where they're going, then I would not be ready to go near them. Because they're going to take you with them wherever that is. And if they don't even know where that is, you're going to be spinning your wheels in circles for a while or randomly ending up somewhere that you didn't want to end up. They should be heading somewhere. Oh, of course, they're headed towards the kingdom. Well, there's a lot of places to stop along the way. All right? And so you may want to find some of those things out. So hopefully between what he gave you today and things I'm giving you, and we'll be continuing in the series I'm doing, you'll have a lot more tools to give you. Instead of a 50-50, maybe you get an 80-20 out of it, okay? Which would be great, okay? Have an 8 out of 10 chance of it being a better deal. You'll have the tools that should help you through that, all right? And make better choices. Okay.
That's super helpful. And it answered my next question, which was if we thought self-knowledge was important, which it sounds like that is important in the process of...
Look, the most important thing on your journey through all of this is to learn you. Learn you. Because you can't really become him. Because, okay, do you know what it says? We read the verses. It says that you are to transform and conform into the image of the Son. Okay, you think about the words transforming and conforming, you skip the most important 3-letter word. You are to do that. But if you don't know what you are, then you don't know how far off you are, and you don't know what you're doing to become him. You don't know how much you're already like him or how much is not even close. But it's you that has to do these things. All right? And by the way, this whole best friend thing, I have a best friend. I have no interest in marrying him. You don't have to marry your best friend.
Right.
It's a different role. Okay? My wife doesn't have to be my best friend. She needs to be my wife. Okay? It's just, sometimes we confuse the roles. And so, now there may be a time in your life where your spouse is your best friend because you don't have another close friend, but it's just a different relationship that you have with a best or close friend that doesn't diminish anything with your spouse. It's just a different role, okay? And so, anyway, so you understand, like I've got some close friends that I give very little attention and they're okay with it and I get little attention, but we just have a different relationship. And that relationship, by the way, in best friends, is a relationship built on what? All those things you have in common that you're walking in the same direction. All those things that, or if you're not, you have enough fun and you're comfortable goofing on each other about it. You don't take it personally because it's not marriage. In marriage, it may not go so nicely as you pick on each other. One of my really close atheist friends called me yesterday. I hadn't talked to him in a million years. Out of the blue, called me. And, like he teased me, he goes, so you're still living the lie? Instead of living the life. He thought he was being funny. So I said, well played, laughed. I mean, because we're close friends over the years, right? But in my book, close friends means we talk once a year, twice a year. But we know each other, for 25, 30 years, okay? So we know each other a long time. Actually, I know him longer than I know Uncle Bob, right? But I don't see him as much. We're not that close of friends anymore. But so I think sometimes we get confused about what we're looking for. You're not looking for a best friend. You can find a lot of people that could be your best friend. What you're looking for is a spouse. Okay? If you're a woman, you're looking for a man, a husband. If you're a man, you're looking for a wife, a woman who's a wife. Okay? All right. Anything else?
I have one more question. it was about the comment that you made about being selfless, Elder. And this is a struggle for me. I think it touches on like what you talked about last night with the people-pleasing thing. Is like, what does it look like? Because I think sometimes in my past, I'd have a tendency to do too much for somebody else and not be taking care of myself in the midst of it. And so, like, you know, I've kind of learned how to better take care of myself. So I think there's like a little bit of a fear of like, well, what does that look like entering into a marriage and then thinking I need to be selfless? Does that mean I'm giving myself up completely? Does that make sense?
Go ahead.
All right, look. This works for me. All right. You have to understand what we're talking about with selflessness or selfishness, okay, is when it becomes about you. Not that you're taking care of yourself, but the thing that collectively between you and another person now becomes about you. So to be selfless is to say that it's not going to become about you. It doesn't mean I'm not taking care of myself, but I'm not going to turn whatever's going on into being about me. Okay? I'm going to esteem others above myself. I'm going to put my husband or my wife, or whichever side you're on, first. But I'm not going to do it at the expense of taking care of me, because if I'm not healthy, then I can't be that good at my role anyway. So selfless is when it comes into the preferences that you have when they conflict with your role. How's that? Okay, I'm just going to use that as an idea. When your desires conflict with your role. So I'll give you an example. You're the wife. Something's going on with the husband, something's going on with the household or whatever. It's his problem, it's his situation. It takes a selfless person to allow it to be his. Because it's yourself that's going to want to insert itself into that. Because, right, you insert yourself into the situation. Okay? It's a selfless thing if you're the man side of it to say, I'd really rather be doing this, or this, but this needs to be done, so my wife needs this done, or whatever it is, and so I'm going to put what I want aside because I have to do my role. So it's more about role. It's not about I'm going to sacrifice taking care of myself at my expense to take care of the other person. Okay? It has to do with I'm going to do my role even though it's not what I really want to do right now. Does that work? Is that what you were kind of talking about? Okay? Did that help?
That's super helpful, yeah. That's super helpful. Thank you.
You're welcome. You know, for all those people out there who may not appreciate it, I know you guys all do, I think the Q&A part is almost better than the teaching part in every teaching that I do, because it allows for that interaction for clarity, you know? It's like lots of little mini teachings within the teaching, you know? All right, Janet, and all the people online are like panicking that they're never going to get their questions answered. That's okay. There's a solution, by the way. Move. It's easy. And wait. To all you online people, well, that's easy for you to say. Go to Numbers chapter 33 and look at all of the moving that Yahweh did with them. And by the way, he never asked them if they wanted to move. He moved them. You can go count. I forget how many times it is, but there's a lot of them. There's 42 of them? Thank you. Wow. Maisie said there's 42 times they moved in 40 years. 42 times. And you're thinking, oh, well, you know, I don't want to move from here. I mean, I got all this stuff going on and everything else. And, well, maybe Yahweh's moving you. You know, part of this is moving out of your comfort zone. Mm-hmm. All right? Mm-hmm. So maybe you need to move. Then you don't get to sit there frustrated online that you don't get to stand up here like Janet does every week. Speaking of which, hi, Janet.
Hi again. Sorry. Elder, thank you so much for your teaching.
Rocky moved here for the same reason. He gets to come up here all the time too now instead of being online. All right, go ahead.
Okay, so my question is about that verse when it says, be fruitful and multiply. So is that talking about, it's not just talking about be fruitful in terms of children, it's being fruitful with what you do, right? The work of your hands and producing and finding that purpose and meaning and growing the fruit of the Spirit and all that stuff. Is that correct, or what do you?
All of the above.
Okay, awesome. And then the other thing, I know you didn't touch that verse, but in the same book of Genesis, 2:18, when it says, and Yahweh Elohim said, it is not good for the man to be alone. I am going to make a helper for him. So...
Wait. Did everybody hear that? Who was helping who here? Ladies? Okay, because some of you go, my husband never helps me. Well, it's not his job to help you. You help him, though. Well, I do, and he doesn't like it. No. That's who you think is helpful. He mentioned that in the teaching. Did you ever think to find out what he thinks is helpful? Because you're there to help him. He's there to provide for you and protect you. The verse you just read was, I'm going to provide a helper for him. So that's your role, that's your job. Okay? My wife had never heard that till I actually sat her down one day and said, by the way, you do understand you're my helper? And she was like, what? But that wasn't her fault. This is not taught. Okay? Go ahead, continue reading now that you're getting the ladies all mad.
No,
it's Janet's fault, by the way. Blame her.
To make a helper for him as his counterpart.
That's right.
So, with that, our I guess we were created for them. I was created for my husband in this case, but
as a counterpart, think of that as fitting in to complete, not replacing or usurping anything, but you're bringing an element in that's not there now that supports what he's already planning to do and go where he's going. Of course, if you pick the guy who's not going anywhere, that's your fault. Okay, I'm not going to even sugarcoat that at all. That is your fault. Okay, you picked them, that's your problem. All right, next.
And so my question with that, Rabbi, is, so there was a very good purpose with that joint, right? The man and the husband and the wife. So do you think that part of the purpose of marriage is to really become one, like we're supposed to be one with him, and transform into his image through the daily trials, submissions, being selfless, and all the rest? Is that one of the instruments, I suppose, that Yahweh uses, or one of the main instruments for us married?
Absolutely, but it's not possible if you pick the wrong person, because you can't do it with the wrong person. You won't have the right attitude or the right emotional capacity if it's the wrong person. Okay, so you can't just say, well, because I'm your husband, I can demand you as the wife, that we're supposed to be echad and one, the way, if you don't agree with almost anything I'm doing, that's never going to happen. Okay? So it is an instrument for that, but it has to do with choosing well in the first place. Okay? Just keep that in mind. All right, Rocky.
Thank you, Rabbi. Thank you, Elder Billy.
No, you're welcome.
So it was similar to what Janice was saying. And Yahweh said that it wasn't good to be alone, and I look at it as he made people. And he said that I'm going to be a husband to you. And he said that these two fleshes should become one. I go back to that oneness again. And I also believe that with a marriage, that, when you're intimate, there's no more oneness than there is. There's nothing that they could do wrong. And we're supposed to have that in that marriage. So it has to be possible, but just like everything else in life, it has to be your will, that whatever needs to be done, that's what you're going to do, and you're going to become one with that woman and vice versa. We're supposed to be an extension of each other. When someone sees my wife, they should be able to think of me, and then vice versa. When they see me, they should be able to think of my wife. There should be no separation. Does that make any sense?
It does, but it's not going to happen if you don't choose one that you're willing to do all that with. Okay, look, Yahweh wants us to be echad with him. It's not going to happen unless we want to be echad with him. Do you understand? It doesn't matter how much he punishes us or curses us or blesses us. It's not going to happen if we don't want to do it. So it doesn't matter how much your husband wants the wife to do this or that or become echad or vice versa. If they don't want to do it, it's not happening. And so you have to actually choose someone you want. We have chosen. Yahweh called us, and we chose to hear the call and say, yes, I want what you're offering. And I understand that doing so, because I want what you're offering, is going to mean I have to do everything you say. All right? Ladies, you should be picking a husband saying, I want what you're offering. You're going to take care of me, provide for me, and all these other things. I should be willing to do what you say. To understand, now I'm not talking about in a terrible, abusive, controlling. I'm just saying, but you should trust him. We do what Yahweh says, not because he's an abusive dictator, but because we trust that what he says is to our benefit. Men, you're supposed to be the Yahweh of your family. Your wives should be able to trust you that whatever you say is to their benefit. Even when it's no. Yahweh says no a lot. Anybody notice that? You ask for a bunch of stuff and you get almost none of it. But you still love him anyway, and you still want to obey him anyway, and you still trust him anyway. Because you're trusting that the no is the right answer. Amen. But you guys don't want to do that when your husbands tell you no. You don't want to trust it's the right answer because you want to do what you want to do. But you didn't sign up for that. You signed up to trust him and obey. And wait till you see the word that we're going to read out of Ephesians when we start talking about wives, submit to your husbands, etc. It's really talking about obedience. It's not like whatever you want to read into it. Stop coddling it or sugarcoating it. It's obedience. So let's just understand. And when it says to men to love their wives, etc., and all that other thing, wait till, I don't want to spoil it. Next week. Okay? It will be next week because I've already looked at the notes. While he was teaching, I was looking at the notes. Next week. We're not going to change the theme here of making anybody happier than they are right now. I trust me on that, okay? All right, spoiler alert. I'm going to ruin all of those of you that are spoiled. So all you spoilers, or all you spoiled people, be on alert. I told you, a real man is toxic to all the garbage. All right? Problem is, there's not enough. And then when you run into one, you just think he's an obnoxious jerk. That's what I get called all the time. All right? Just keep that in mind. All right. Silas, back for round two.
I know I'm double dipping. Elder
what was that? You know what? Oh, you're double dipping.
Double dipping.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, Proverbs 24, in the building and the role playing of the husband and the wife. Okay? All right. Elder Billy said respect. Okay, I can see where that can be first on the list. But in my role playing, I want to be petted, and rubbed on. I mean, you know, I want attention. I mean, you know, me and my wife are both white and blue, and I'm telling you, I definitely want to be. I don't know if that's the right word. All
right, look. Let me kind of. I understand where you're going. All right. I speak another language I didn't know. I speak Silas. Okay. So I speak Rocky. I speak Silas. I got a lot of people I speak. I speak Janet. Okay. Now, Silas, listen. All right? Listen. And you ladies understand this. A man, yes, we want attention. We're like a puppy dog. You go ahead, give us a few strokes, our tail wags, we're happy to go. All right? But you got to do that on a regular basis. Okay? Now, but bear in mind, this is what a man wants and doesn't want. A man wants to, a man, not your husband, I don't know if your husband's a man wants to go, work his you-know-what off, come home to silence and peace and a few strokes and just, okay? Not drama, trauma, and whining and complaining. All right? He just went and worked his you-know-what off to bring home the money to do whatever and everything else, and he's gonna come home to trauma, drama, and stupidity. Your job is to keep that out of his life, okay? You wanna help your man? Stop bringing all that noise into his life. You should be the buffer protecting him from all that junk. Oh no, you're ready to throw it at him as soon as he walks in the door. Oh, do you know what your son did? And can you believe this happened? And blah, 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 blah. It's like... I've been gone 10 hours. Can I get a break? How about, hi, honey. I'm so glad you're home. Come here. Have a seat. Do you want me to get you something? Can I do something for you? Oh, no. You want to dump. Well, your day. What about my day? What do you mean, what about your day? You have your role. I have mine. Men most of the time don't do this. Men most of the time do not come home and whine about their day. Okay? Some do. Those are not men. Okay? Men come home, they worked, whatever they had to do, that was their problem, not yours. They're not dumping it on you. If your husband dumps on you, he's got a problem not being a man. Okay? There's a side of him that is missing the point. You shouldn't be dumping on your wives, guys. And ladies, you have your job. It's not his job. If your job is rough, that's too bad. It's your job. Don't dump it on him. All right? Because he wants to come home to shalom. He wants to come home and get away from the drama that was probably at his job. Trust me, if you're doing this job, there's plenty of it. Okay, but any job. Because you're dealing with the world, and the world is stupid, and the world does things stupidly, and everything gets jacked up, and you have to deal with it every day. On every job. Okay? I talked to him through a couple of jobs he was at before he came here, and they were all jacked up. And he was in management, upper management, and it doesn't matter who you are, where you are, it's the world you're dealing with. And so, like Silas was saying, he wants to be able to come home, and he wants to get a little coddling, a little calmness, some loving, you know. And again, it's not like you have to run right to the bed. Just give him a hug, give him a kiss, let him put his feet up for a second, see if he wants you to can you get him something? Can you do something? Oh, no, you're selfish. This is that selfless thing that Jennifer said about. No, you're selfish. You want it to be about you. Do you know what I had to deal with all day? Do you know? No, I don't care. That was your thing, so why do I care? Only if it was something like the plumbing broke, good, tell me about it, I'll fix that, right? But I don't need to hear about all this trauma that was your stuff. And please don't share with me all the stuff that you saw on the internet that you thought was drama, and all the people's Facebook posts were drama, because I don't care. Okay? And all you men, if you care, then you're not being a man. You shouldn't care. That's the female side where it's all about emotion and all that other stuff, and everybody's all stirred up about everything. Stop. Do your job, go home, get some rest, go back to work, do your job. Okay? Make sure everybody's okay. Give everybody the amount of attention they need. You give your wife attention when you come home, but give her attention. Attention doesn't mean you have to sit there and be the sounding board for all the whining. Go over, give her a nice hug, give her some comfort. Okay? Both sit down and have something to eat or do whatever it is that you like to do. I don't care. Everybody has their own routine. I'm not telling you how to do it. So does that help, Silas? Is that what you were kind of trying to say? Yeah. Well, here he comes. That's a triple dip. No, it's the same one.
No, I just want to answer the question. No, I understand, and yes, to that part of it. It ain't always about the bed. I'm 75 years old. Everything still work, but I mean, you know, I ain't no bunny rabbit no more. You know, that don't work.
I understand. I understand.
But
not yet. I'm not 75, but I understand. I'm sorry. Did I say that out loud?
But like, as I was saying, Barbara always had to be. Barbara always had to be the man. So there is our conflict. That's the only real conflict.
But you have to help her understand, I've got this, you don't have to do that. But then you have to have it, though.
Oh,
okay?
Yeah, well, I got it.
Right.
That's how come I'm all broke down. I got it. But it's just hard to do sometimes, you know.
No, I'm just saying, but whenever she starts to go into that man role, you have to say, hold on, don't do that. I've got this covered. You don't need to step in. Women have always had this thing, especially because of the blue side. The blue side always jumps in if they're afraid something's going to go wrong. So if you're a man who's not taking care of business, that lady is going to jump in. All right? So you want the women to stop jumping in and handle the business. And convince them that you've got it.
But that's not the point. The point is, she knows I have it. She wants to stand in my spot.
I understand that. And then you have to explain, and we go back and forth about let's not do that, because this doesn't work like that, okay? Only one person can stand in that spot, and it's going to be you. But we can work on that. But it's a struggle not just for Barbara, but for a lot of the women, okay?
Okay, let me say it a different way. I want to move this chair. Oh, maybe we ought to move it the other way. No. You ain't listening to me. You ain't listening to me. I say, I heard you. I'm not going to do it that way. And then she might bring up, well, my father would have done it this way or something like that. You know, that's the kind of stuff I'm
and
talking
again, that's where you guys have an issue that's very common, though, okay, which has to do with, this is a respect thing, that you actually have the authority to say this chair goes there or it doesn't go there. Okay, but she's not accepting that. This is something called submission, and we're going to talk about that a lot next week, because we're going to deal with Ephesians 5, which starts off with wives, be subject to your husbands. So it's going to start with this understanding of submission. I think Silas is going to come back next week.
I gotta try to fix that.
Okay, we'll work with that, but not now because it's already almost 6 o'clock.
It's almost time
okay,
to
so
go.
we can't do
Okay.
this now. Yeah.
All right, you got saved.
All right, are they on my schedule for marriage counseling later? I have a feeling we're going to need to do something. All right, so, and Silas might have a black eye. But anyway, so, all right, John, go ahead.
Thank you, Rabbi. I want to tie in.
See, he knew this was going to be, it's why good we had a lot of extra time, because we started a lot earlier with this teaching. He's like, you're going to have a lot of questions. Go ahead.
I want to tie in what the Rabbi Tom gave me counseling on a week ago about my father. He kept coming in, taking my stuff, and asking, and just treat me with disrespect and all that.
Right.
And so therefore, Rabbi Tom told me to go buy some locks, lock up the house, and have a talk with him.
Right.
So I went ahead and bought the locks. I had a talk with him yesterday. I said, you can no longer come in my house and take my stuff without my permission. And then he turned around and said, I am the leader of this house. So I said to him, who do you live with? I said, he lives with my grandmother, your mother. Your mother feeds you, clothes you, and you don't have a job, and you barely have a vehicle. I said, I follow the Torah. I have a rabbi to go to and talk to. I have a job. I'm supporting myself. Who's the man here? Who deserves respect here?
But also, you have a different house, right?
Yes.
Okay, so you say, yeah, you could be the leader in that house. That's that house. This is my house. That's how you can go think you're a leader anywhere you want, living with your mother, but you can think you're the leader. I think it's unbelievable that a guy saying, I'm the head, and he lives with his mother.
Yeah, I told him.
But this we say, that's fine, Dad, but this is my house, and you can't walk into my house because I'm the head of my house. Okay? By the way, but that's also a conversation some of you men need to have with your wives. This is my house. Ladies, if you don't like that, you could always leave. Okay? But this is my house, and if I want this chair there, that chair stays there. Now, that may create a marriage problem that I don't want to do, so I may not want to have a fight over a position of a chair. I'm just saying is, choose your battles wisely, which is why I do the 100 yeses for every no type of thing in general. Like, I'm not keeping count, okay? But if I say no, I don't expect an argument. I expect there to be no fighting over it. I don't care if you don't like it. It's my answer. That's the end of it, okay? But I also know that I'm generous with throwing out the yeses. So that's kind of my way of balancing the equation. In our agreement, you're going to get yes most of the time, but when I give a no, I don't want to argue about it. You can give me whatever reason, and once I say that's my decision, we don't argue with decisions. At least not going to do that with me. I don't think you're going to do that with any man. You're not going to argue with a decision. If the decision hasn't been made yet, you're welcome to make your case, and a good man will allow you to make your case. And then say, that's great, that's fine, but we're not doing that. Or that's great, that's fine, sure, we'll do that. That's where you get some of those yeses, okay? But a man makes a decision, a man makes a decision. Look, I can go back to an old school sort of version of this. My in-laws are from Eastern Europe, okay? I remember one time we showed up at their house and there were all these less than attractive looking things hanging on the walls, okay? And my wife was like, Mom, what's with all this stuff? And she said, it's your father, he wants it, what can I do? That's a wife. She said, it's his house, he wants it, what can I do? All right? She didn't like it either, but she recognized it's his house. If that's what he wants, that's what he wants. You don't see this in women today. It's not being passed down the generations. The respect. Now, she didn't like it. The way she said it was clear. She's like, what can I do? I agree with you. I think it looks ugly, but it's his house, and that's what he wants. So that's why it's on the wall. But can you do that? Can you understand and respect where authority really belongs and where it actually resides? And then if you have the authority, can you wield it correctly, responsibly? All right? This is a brutally hard thing for people to do because we have very few examples of anybody doing it well. All right? All right, we're really late. Anything else, John? Because we got to go, and I have to give them at least 5 seconds on the live stream.
I told him also what Rabbi Tom said. I told him, if you ever try to come to my house again, there will be consequences and the law will be involved.
Good, good.
And walked away.
But what you should have said, the one thing you should have said was, yes, you feel like you're the head in that house, that's fine. I wouldn't have argued about you live with your mother and everything else. I would have said, that's fine, but that's not where I live. My house is my house, and I'm the head of my house. Okay, that's the clarity I would have used. Okay? All right, because to mock your father is not very respectful, even though he was deserving of it to some degree. You understand what I'm saying? But I would have just gone to, but this is my house, and I've locked my house because you're not allowed to come into my house without my permission. It's not your house. Okay.
Yep, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, John. All right, Rob, see if we can squeeze that out of that live stream real quick.
All right.
Or just tell me I answered everybody's question already.
Yeah. From Jonaline Eckstein, question, what if you're a widow with children, who is your strong man? I know if you're married, your husband is. Thank Abba using Elder Billy today teaching the scripture.
All right, look, if you're a single woman, all right, especially if you got kids or you're widowed or whatever it is, you're divorced, okay, you should be seeking a male role in your life that can be that balance to help keep you balanced. We can provide that to some degree from the ministry. If you ask us to, we may agree to do that for you. We do that for a lot of people. But you still need to understand that without both, you're out of balance. Okay? The man without the woman or the woman without the man is out of balance. And so those roles have to be brought in some way. All right? Because otherwise you're out of balance. It's not that you can't navigate it. You're just going to always be a little bit off kilter and out of balance. If you would navigate it really well, you could be minimally out of balance. If you don't, you could be way out of balance. But he designed us to be together for balance. And so if you don't have that, you need to find it somewhere. So that's why I have so many adult daughters, so to speak, okay? Because they need a father figure, a strong man figure in their life that they can go to and say, I think I need you to straighten me out on something. Because I know my head's out of balance on this, and I need a strong male opinion, way of seeing things, point of view, etc. And so you look for that in a safe way. Don't just grab any guy, but somebody that you know their motives and their drives are all upstanding, motivations and drives, okay? All right. Anything else?
Just a couple more. Connor R. Question, in Proverbs 24, verses 3 and 4, as a single man, should I apply these aspects to myself to make sure I am ready to pursue marriage?
What was Proverbs 24? Knowledge, understanding, and wisdom.
Yeah, I think we answered that. Absolutely, everybody should be applying these things to themselves to prepare themselves for marriage. And then apply them in the marriage. Okay, that's the knowledge, understanding, and wisdom. Okay?
From Truth of Ruth, this is the last one I have. When you were saying men are programmed for generations, were you saying they need children or not to take away the horizontal Macarena?
I don't even know what that is. Oh, I can do the Macarena. I'm not sure what that phrase is supposed to mean there. All right. I guess the horizontal Macarena is like the horizontal bop. I don't know what that otherwise, the way we would have done it in my generation is what we would have called it, all right? Okay, so when you're saying that men are programmed for generations, or you're saying they need children or not, all right, look, I'm not sure that question really kind of is easy to interpret based on all the things that we said. We have been programmed into weakness. Okay, the male masculinity, the proper masculinity is being taken away generationally. Okay, I don't think it has anything to do with saying we need children or I don't understand the rest of that question really. Okay, the reality is that we have been programmed by television, by the media, by culture to basically try to remove proper masculinity out of the system. All right. It's just the way it is, okay? And so, any of you see the movie The Quiet Man? You all need to go see that. It's an old movie with the Duke, okay? It's John Wayne, all right? And John Wayne is an American boxer who's also Irish. He ends up in Ireland. He ends up meeting this young lady who's got an ornery older brother. And she just wants him to be a man. I'm spoiling the movie for you. It won't mess the movie up. You'll like it anyway. And she's hoping that he can, because her brother's a tough guy. And so, finally he goes to battle with her brother. And after he beats him up and finishes battling with her, or before, I can't remember which order it was, he grabs her basically and drags her across Ireland back to the house, because they were married, dragged her home. She'd been an obnoxious, whiny, complaining, and as soon as he dragged her home, she looked at him like, oh, I got a man. She says, dinner will be ready when you get home. Her whole attitude changed. She just wanted him to stand up and take charge. Now that's the 50s when you see this happening, when that movie was made. That would never work today. That would be like banned. You couldn't even show that movie. How dare you show a guy dragging? He literally by the hair basically dragged her across Ireland. I mean, you see them going over hill and dale and fields, and I'm not just, he literally dragged her for miles. No roads, not getting in a car, not on a horse. He dragged her. And when he came back, she was all proper, ready, and had dinner ready and everything. Changed woman, because all she wanted was him to be a man, all right? And to show, I'm the man of this house. Changed everything. See, but they wouldn't let you make a movie like that today. They wouldn't let you show anything like that today. And I'm not recommending anybody do that, but the metaphor of it is what you need to see. Men, you need to step up, and ladies, you need to not be scared when they do. Because I got a whole bunch of ladies tell me how they prayed for their husband to step up, and when their husband did, they got all upset. Because now they want to do what you've been doing. And you don't want to step back and let them do it. Can't have it both ways. Be careful what you ask for. You might get it. All right. Excellent job from Elder.
And Rabbi Steve.